Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews. We're not going live because we want to bring back a little bit of that editing that I like so much. It's a little more crisp, a little more, has more of a sheen to it that I like. And during this time, we decided to go check out The Hunt on video on demand for the low price of $19.99 for 2 days. Totally, yeah, it's not a good deal. Don't do it. Not that I don't think The Hunt was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. We're gonna get into it right now. I just think that for $19.99, you should be able to own the movie. You know what I mean? So, going into it, do you have like high expectations or low expectations?
Well, I know that you said people were very divided, so I wasn't sure whether it was going to follow like typical horror movie fashion or if it was going to go a different direction. I don't remember anything specifically about the trailers. I'm sure we saw them, but I hadn't remembered anything specifically pertaining to the plot.
Well, it was supposed to come out. It's a Blumhouse movie. I think it was one of their smaller ones. It's not like one that's like Jordan Peele presents.
Right.
And it was supposed to come out in like September. And from what I read online, there was I guess during that time there were some school shootings. I honestly don't remember which one it was, but it was one of them. And I think there was two back to back at that time, so they delayed it. And then, everything going on now in March, they delayed it again. Or they just went straight to... I think it had like 1 week in theaters.
It was out, yeah.
And then it went to video on demand. The other thing that came up is that it's a political hot button right now. Which I think is ridiculous, because if you've actually watched the movie, you'd realize it's just like... A lot of these characters are not very intelligent. They're not very bright, and you shouldn't get too hung up on it. In my opinion, yes, there is a representation of both ends of the political party, but it plays out very much to me like that episode of South Park when Randy is like, putting on like a show, and he's like the hippie type, and then you have like the guys that are like the rednecky type, and like they're doing like, I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. So like, if you can watch that and be like, yeah, it's a joke, it's funny, like it's not meant to be like, oh my, like you're not supposed to take it to heart. It's a satire. So if you can look at it through that point of view, I think you'll be fine. I think, and the biggest problem that I've been reading about is that essentially, from what I understand, is that I have a quote. Let me just read the quote, and because I don't want to get too much into it. But what I found is, no one really knows why conservatives took offense to The Hunt, which portrays liberal elites hunting working-class conservatives for sport. Ironically, initial objections came from liberals, not conservatives. My guess is that Fox saw this as an opportunity to blame gun violence in Hollywood, even though they have only seen the trailer. Then Trump saw Fox's criticism and picked up on it. Although he did not name the movie, the studio, after receiving pushback from left and right, decided to pull the movie for now, but they will likely release it later. This is a quote from like 7 months ago. So, again, this is like a dogma situation where nobody's actually seen the movie, but they saw like a trailer and they've heard about it, and it's become like a clickbaity item to go about. So there's that. So with that said, you should definitely go check it out. This is going to be a spoiler talk video. This is very much in mind of, I imagine a lot of you guys are sitting at home checking out these VOD movies. So if you haven't seen The Hunt, definitely go check it out. It's a high recommend on my end, but we are going to get into spoilers a little bit and kind of break down the pros and cons of this movie point by point a little bit. Not too much in detail, but we're gonna just name the bullet points of what happens and take it from there. So, what did you roughly think of The Hunt, just like overall? Did you think it was better or worse than expected?
I thought it was better than expected. Even though, like I said, I didn't have a definitive idea of what they were going to do in the movie, but a lot of modern horror movies, because I can words, take very just like jump scares, and they tend to be very predictable, and
right.
It's upsetting. So this definitely did not follow that approach at all.
Because we just watched not Ready Player One, Ready or Not.
Every time you say Ready or Not, my brain thinks Ready Player One, and I'm like,
Yeah. But we just watched that one, and I kind of feel like it's in the same genre, kind of. Like, it's like an over-the-top hunter be hunted type of movie where, like, it's a black comedy. Don't get hung up on it. So we're going to get straight into what happens in the movie, and we're going to talk about it along the way. So the scene opens with a series of text messages. You have 8 people in a chat, and it's a little bit of foreshadowing. Like, they have that scene, like, with the turtle, like, fucking the shoe and whatnot, and, like, they're basically talking about, like, oh my god, did you hear about what's going on? And he's like, oh yeah, I did, my day's ruined. And the one guy is just like, well, at least the hunt is coming up. Nothing better than going out to the manor and slaughtering a dozen deplorables. And then the other guy's like, we promised not to talk about the manor. It's like, Viva el Manor. And this kind of starts the whole movie, and we'll get into, like, the ramifications of that later, but obviously it's, what's her name? Hilary Swank. And then the next scene we go into is it's an airplane scene, and we have everybody on board. It's like a private chartered jet, and you got what's that guy? The guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Dennis. He's there talking about, like, the champagne and how there was a boat, and there was they found an old pirate ship with, like, champagne. They brought it up. And out of nowhere, this guy comes out of the back, and he looks like he kind of looks like a zombie. I'm like, is he infected or like, crazy? And he wakes up. He was one of the ones who's supposed to be hunted. And, the doctor's kind of like, there's one doctor guy who's like, calm down. And, like, they stabs him in the neck. And then, again, Hilary Swank comes out. We still haven't seen her face. But she comes out, and she's got, like, a stiletto heel. And she just, like, takes one of his eyes out. And he eventually dies. They drag him into the other room, right? And Emma Roberts is there. And
yeah,
that's pretty much how they leave us. And they're like, okay. And yeah, these people are essentially they do a twist of it where the liberals are hunting the Republicans?
the conservatives.
The conservatives, okay. Are hunting the what?
The liberals are hunting the conservatives.
Okay. All right. There's so many names for different groups. But yeah, so which I think is kind of a twist because I feel like in any other movie it would have been the other way around. Because it's like the gun toting what have yous are usually portrayed the other way.
Yeah.
So the scene we get, like, right away is like after that is like the Hunger Games, and we've seen this like a million times in, like, movies like Hard Target, The Running Man, stuff like that. This is nothing new of, like, we're gonna go hunt people. And you got, like, Emma Roberts, and she's like, she's actually listed as being Yoga Pants. That's her character name.
That's hilarious.
And she wakes up, and they all got the ball gags on, and she sees Crystal, who ends up being one of our main characters, across the way. And I don't know, I think she's like, what does she have, like a leaf in the pond trying to figure out, like, which way is north or something like that?
She has a name tag with a pin on the back, and she takes the pin off, and she kind of uses, like, she, like, puts it through her hair to create, like, static electricity, and then she lays it on a leaf in a pond as, like, a mechanism to create a magnet in order to figure out which way is north.
Right. Which doesn't really pay off in any way, because, like, I guess she just...
Well, it helps her, I guess, get out of the woods.
Right.
I mean, it's just supposed to be, like, an inkling of, this one's kind of smart. You better watch out for her.
That's a good point. Ooh, hey.
So...
Hey. Which brings us right into, like, the Hunger Games, where, like, they see a big wooden box in the middle of the big open field, and there's 12 of them. They all run in, and
probably at least 11 of them at this point.
Right, I guess it's 11 now because they were supposed to have 12, and the guy on the plane is definitely not on there.
He woke up too early.
Right,
silly bastard.
And then we get to the box of guns, which, if I was the guy who was opening that crate, I kind of had a couple points about this. One, I would not have revealed to everybody that there were guns in there, because if I was in the situation, I would probably grab a gun, like, guard the gun box, and then, just leave that. But knowing what I know now, maybe that would have been a bad idea.
Right.
And then the second thing is that this guy who opens the boxes gives no fucks about opening the box. He doesn't peek in. He's just, like, pulling away. I'm like, the whole time I'm like, is a bear gonna come out? Is something like a tiger? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you.
Like, I really don't remember the trailer, like, of, like, them pulling the guns out. I kind of do, but not really. So there's a bunch of guns, and, like, they have, like, I think, like, maybe, like, machetes and stuff like that. There's a variation
all kinds of stuff.
But mostly, like, for the most part, there's, like, machine guns. And then Emma Roberts dead, bam, like, right away. Like, she's the first casualty in the whole thing.
She gets her head blown off.
She does. It's like, boom! And you're like, oh! we are not the Millers. We are fucking dead. So, which I thought was kind of cool. It kind of reminded me of like the first like Scream movie, like when they kill off like Drew Barrymore in the first like 2 minutes, because it's like they put her in the trailers. It's always like that photo with like the ball gag in her mouth of like that sells the movie a little bit, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then the next thing that we see is like that guy. What's his name? He was like the guard in Suicide Squad. He was in Neighbors. I think it's like Ike. Oh, there you go. Ike Barinholtz. And he plays Staten Island. He was the guy that was like, I own 7 guns.
Right.
And he's another one that like people kind of recognize. I'm like, okay, maybe he's going to be the lead. But since he always plays like a douchey character, you kind of know it's not really going to go that way. And then we have that girl who falls on the spikes. It's her birthday.
Yeah.
And she's like, tomorrow's my birthday. I fucking love that. I was
gonna eat a whole pie. Like, that is my birthday. I was looking forward to that. And now there's a giant hole in my body.
And this is where I'm telling, like, this is where I really hone in on. You need to not look at this movie as, like, a literal context movie. No. It is campy. It is satire. I kept thinking one thing in my head again and again. It is bloody good fun. Like, that's, like, just enjoy it. It's dumb. It's over the top. Because she falls into a pit. Because, like, you know, they start firing at the box where they are. Right. She falls into, like, a hole. And there's, like, these big 6-foot spikes sticking up. And she falls onto it. And Ike, what's-his-face, tries to pull her out of it.
No, that's the other guy that tries to pull her out of it.
Right. And then she falls back in the pit again. And the second time, like, she's missing the second half of her body.
Because they set a grenade off or
That's
something.
Right, okay.
Or there's landmines in the forest.
You're
like,
right, you're
at the
right.
ground, they look down and there's a fucking landmine. And all of a sudden, it's like, 0.0, no one is safe. Like, several people have died. We are, like, 3 minutes into this movie. Like, what is happening? Because
she falls, you're right. The guy pulls her out. Yeah. And then, like, you know, he steps on, like, a landmine. They both blow up. She still doesn't die. She goes back in the pit. She lands almost identically where she was. And then that's when Ike, what's-his-face, comes over and is like, hey, you know, I gotta get you out of there. And I think he's like, I'm gonna save you. And she's like, no, just give me your gun so I can kill myself.
Yeah, she wants to blow her
And she does. She blows her brains out. And then that's when we get Ike and, I guess, like 2 or 3 randoms.
She calls him a snowflake.
Yeah. And they run away. They find, like, a fence. They hop the fence, and then they find, like, a gas station. And they go in the gas station, and I mean, we're very early in the movie, so we know it's not going to be like, oh, they found their way out. And there's, like, an old couple in the gas station, and they're very much, how can I help you? You know, they're kind of whatever. And they're very much over the top. They're like, we need a fucking phone. I own 7 guns. Fuck you. And I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. And the one girl is like eating a powdered donut. And we find out that's poison. She falls over. And I'm trying to remember. I guess there's like one more other person. They get killed. Oh, because they gas them. Right?
Yeah, they gas them.
The old couple are part of the hunt. And they gas them. They put on masks. And they all drop dead. And then, that's when we finally get to Betty Glippin being, like, the main character in the movie. She plays Crystal, and she enters the convenience store, and she's kind of like, hey, how's it going? And they already mopped up the bodies, and they get them in the back, which you're like, okay, fine.
There's actually a moment before that where they kind of get a message on a walkie-talkie radio. And they're like, we had 3 of them, and they're gone, and the person on the other end's like, all right, well, there's another one heading your way. Are you ready, or should we stall him?
Okay.
And they're like, no, we're ready. So then she comes walking in.
Right.
There you go.
And in between, too, like, there was a little bit of banter between them back and forth about, like, who these people are. And again, they're taking shots at everybody across the board. Because what are they? They're I guess they're like snowflakes, right? Like, aren't they like, we don't say that word and we don't do this?
Yeah, because they're basically trying to justify the fact that they just killed them.
Right.
So they're like, they use the N-word.
Right. They're very social justice warriors, I guess.
They're like not doing this and all of that. And, you know, it's okay that we killed them because they're bad people.
Right.
And we're good people. And we're just like cleaning up the earth, man.
There is a pretty funny scene I like when he goes to take a drink of the soda, and she's like, no!
Yeah, he takes the drink, and she's like, it's poison! And he's like, what? And she's like, it's full of sugar. I will not be sorry for caring.
That's so dumb. And then they hug, and it's like, oh, they're a cute little crazy old couple.
I enjoyed
It's gonna be us someday.
Yeah, I enjoyed the fact that, like, they took the ironic twist, because you could go under the idea that everything in that convenience store is poison, considering the one character just randomly picked up food, started eating it, and it did not end well for her. So you could go off the idea that everything in this store has some sort of poison in it.
Which, again, kind of makes me go, don't think about this movie too much. Because, like, I had that thought. I'm like, did they, like, unwrap the Oreos and, like, poison everything in this store? Did they have the time? I'm like, I'm thinking too much. I'm weighing too much into it. Like, because how would they know, like, the donuts would be the thing they would go for, you know what I mean?
Because they're out in the open. I don't know.
Maybe.
And I have to imagine they don't necessarily rely on it, considering they don't rely on any of that to do in our characters. It just happens to be the fault of one of them, who just helps herself. So then we have Crystal come in.
Yeah, Crystal comes in, and she's basically just like, hey guys, pack of cigarettes? And they're like, yeah, sure. And, like, she reaches down into her boot, and they're kind of looking over, like, whatnot. She's like, you know, spare money or whatever. And this is the part we got, like, the best line in the movie, in my opinion. Because, like, she says, like, well, where are we? And she's like, oh, we're in Arkansas. I was like, oh, okay. And she just takes him the fuck out. She jumps over the counter, she kills them both, and she grabs, like, the rifle, and she says, like, what does she say exactly? She's the funniest line in the movie.
She hands them a 20.
Right.
And they lay the pack of cigarettes on the counter along with her change, and she's looking at it, and she sees that it's like $10 in change that they gave her. So then she has her moment. I don't know if you wrote down the quote, because I don't know exactly what it is. So you go ahead. I just wanted to clarify that, like,
she says, cigarettes in Arkansas only cost $6. You fucked up, bitch. And she does, like, the eye buggy thing that she does a couple times in the movie, which is great. And she just blows them the fuck away, and they blow up like water balloons. I fucking love how graphic and over the top the violence kind of is.
Yeah, like,
because it's so campy almost, you know.
That was her telltale.
Right.
She knew something wasn't right, and she's like, all right, I can gauge the cost of a pack of cigarettes. Game on.
Right.
Turns out the pack's empty, but
yeah,
that was a lesson
what a
I learned
letdown.
Later.
Which is kind of another interesting point. It's like, so you're poisoning those, and you're emptying out the cigarette. Like, why even bother emptying out the cigarettes?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It just seemed like a weird, and like the weight of the cigarette pack to me, I feel like would have been a factor too.
Right.
But you know, so moving forward, they're dead, and she grabs like the sawed-off shotgun, and she goes outside, and there's a pickup truck, and I'm like, don't do it, because at this point you're like, I don't trust anything. Everything's kind of like fair game to be like a part of this like giant mousetrap. And sure enough, she goes over there and she sees like a fishing line going from the handle all the way down to the bottom of the car where like the tire is, and there's like a pack of C4, so she just kind of like backs away. And that's when we get Gary, or as you might better know him as Randy from My Name is Earl, Ethan Slurpley, and he shows up, and she's kind of just like hiding in the woods, like waiting for something to happen. She's kind of being more reactive and not proactive, which is probably the smartest way to be in this type of thing. You know, just pull like a Die Hard and take them out one by one, as opposed to like being out in the open. And he shows up, and he's like a podcaster, which we find out later. And he takes out one of the drones that are kind of floating above. And she kind of comes out and like, what are you doing? Like, now they know where we are. Great. So they kind of like find like these train tracks, and they're walking along. And all of a sudden, there's like a vibration, and like she touches the train tracks, and she's like, all right, there's a train coming. This is our moment. We need to run full ahead, where there's going to be like a turn in the tracks. That's where it's going to slow down. That's where we're going to jump on. He's like, all right. And they jump on, and this is where we meet like the Croatian refugees, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, at this point, like, you know, Randy is just like, I don't buy this shit. This is bullshit. It seems kind of bullshitty, just like the gas station. Train stops. U.S. military is there, or maybe not the U.S. military, but there's a form of military because we're in Croatia. You're right, we're in Croatia. So, military is there. The military is real. They get off, and then the guy that was one of the refugees is just like talking to Gary, aka Randy, and he's like, I don't think they believe you, because he's trying to tell the government, like, we're being hunted, this is happening, these guys are, what do they call them, like, civil right actors or something like that? There was a name that he called them. I can't remember.
I don't know.
But he was like civil actors or something like that, but he basically called them fake.
Oh.
Right? Do you remember what he called them? I can't remember off the top of my head because it's such a throwaway line right away.
Yeah.
But he basically calls them out, and the government, like, they're speaking two languages. They're like, oh, they're not buying it. The second they walk away, he's just like, I don't think they believe in you, Gary. He's like, if you want to go ahead, like, I'll give, if you shut the fuck up, I'll give you a 10-second head start. And he's like, all right, buddy? And, like, Randy's just like, I'm not your buddy! And he tackles, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I ain't your friend, guy! Like, from, like, South Park and shit. He tackles him down to the ground, he gets, like, hand grenades from somewhere, and he shoves him down the front of his pants, and he runs away, and he just, that guy just explodes all over the place.
So sick.
I fucking love it. I love watching Randy's face, like, when he slowly builds up, like, I'm like, he's gonna, like, the blood vessel in his head is getting crazy big. It's fucking great. So from there, she gets on the back of like a van with the other refugees, and like they take them to like a refugee camp, I guess. And she's telling her story about like, well, she's actually being very close to the vest about it. But the guy that she's talking to is kind of like, let me guess, you're being hunted? Because Dawn told me that, you guys are being hunted. And she's like, who's Dawn? And all of a sudden, like, this old guy, the old guy with the white goatee comes out, and he's like, I'm done, and I told you, So from there, they're kind of like at a picnic table, and they're just kind of like talking about it and like what's going on. They're speculating, and all of a sudden, like a U.S. Embassy agent shows up, black suit, and it's like, here comes the cavalry, and he picks them up to get them away from there to the embassy. And as they're driving along, he's basically going, so what happened, man? We're going to help you guys out, and, I would never call you guys a victim and all of that, but, like, what happened? There must be a reason why they picked you guys, right? And, Dawn is kind of, like, just, like, shooting his mouth off and whatnot, but if you look at Crystal, she's kind of, like, eyeing this guy up a little bit. He's asking some really odd questions, like, well, there must be a reason they just picked the 12 of you. They wouldn't just do it for random. And I watched it the second time, and I'm like, it's a really cool move she does. She grabs, like, the handbar above, like, the window to, like, hoist herself up a little bit, and she spins her legs out, and she just, like, kicks him in the head. And then she grabs the door, and she pushes him out.
When she first, like, started lifting herself up and she lifted her legs, I thought she was going out the window. I thought she was like, peace out. I'm not doing this. I don't believe in this guy. But then she, like, turned around and just went, boom!
Yeah. And again, this is, like, when we see her do, like, she does this thing where she goes, and, like, it's very quiet, but her eyes get bigger. And it's, like, her methodology of, I'm going into kill mode. And so she kicks him out, and then she jumps in the driver's seat, puts it in reverse, goes backwards, and lops the guy's head off. And the whole time, Don's like, what are you doing? And they pop open the trunk, they find Randy, he's got, like, a knife in his head, and they find, like, a very obvious map. It's, like, drawn in crayon, it's, like, way too, like, there's no code to it, it's just, like, and they're like, is this left on purpose? And I think she says something to the effect of, like, well, it depends if they're really smart, pretend to be dumb, or really dumb, pretend to be smart. And this is another thing why it's really meta and black satire comedy. There's even, like, to the side, a little box that says bribe money, like, highlighted on top of it. Like, so, like, come on, guys, we're in a comedy. Anyone who takes this movie, like, literally needs to stop. Not that I think they actually saw the movie, but I'm just saying, I'm like, it says bribe money. This movie is a joke. Just go with it. So, they're sitting there and they're kind of, like, talking about, like, what we should do. And, like, Dawn's like, oh, we need to drive, we need to do this, we need to do that. And, like, the movie just stops. And she's kind of, this is the scene where we get, like, the turtle and the hare story. And she tells a story about how when she was a child, her mother told her a story about how the turtle and the hare, and it's like the same old, like, we've all heard this story. It's basically the, slow and steady finishes of the race. Because basically, like, the hare is like he's kind of a dick. I think that's what they say. And, like, the hare tells to the turtle, like, well, you know what? Let me challenge you to, like, a race. And he's like, okay. And he takes off and he beats him. Well, he doesn't beat him, but he gets way ahead. But he wants to put on a show. So he takes a nap. But he takes a nap for too long. the turtle beats him in the race. He wakes up and he realizes the whole thing. It's fucked up. Next scene is like, they're at the dinner table, the turtle and his kids, and he's telling the kids, slow and steady wins the race and all that crap. Which is, for most people, when you stop telling the story. But the mother decides to keep going with the story and says that the hare knocks at the door and comes out and basically just like, it's got a hammer, kills the kids, kills the wife, kills him last, I guess. And then that just leads to Dawn being like, so are we the rabbit or are we the turtle? And they never really answer it because they just kind of go to the next thing. You read Animal Farm as we were kind of doing this video. Did you get anything? Oh, I guess that comes later, right? We're not quite onto Animal Farm yet. Because that involves the pigs. I forgot to mention, there's pigs.
There's a pig.
There's a pig dressed in a t-shirt and like whatever that comes out of the box before the guns come out. So I guess like the metaphor is that the turtle and the hare are like the opposite ends of the spectrum for speed, and then it's supposed to mirror the fact of like the story is about like the opposite ends of the political parties. I get that. I don't know. Did you get any pull away from that at all? Like, did you see more into it than that, or it's just kind of
as far as the comparing the box turtle and the
like her whole story with the mom
to
and
a political end? No.
Well, just generally speaking, I guess.
I mean, because she says essentially that the turtle was like, just keep trying, just keep chugging along, and then the jackrabbit's just like, I'm really pissed off, so time to die. And she's just kind of like, I don't know, that gave me the idea that she's kind of in a philosophy where she doesn't really trust anybody, and she's just kind of trying to like be really smart and read the room and just, I guess, choose her battles in a sense. So it just kind of I took it as like an in-depth to why she is the way that she is and why she's kind of like not very hesitant around everybody and why she'll take like a second guess or find a way to kind of verify whether she can trust somebody or not.
Right. Because we'll get into this a little bit more as we get to those scenes, but my take was that she was like neither the turtle or the rabbit.
Right.
Like I think she's like a whole other wild card that kind of is thrown into the mix. So the next scene that we get is like it's later, it's nighttime, and we kind of see like the hunters, and they're in like a little like under like this dugged out trench, and they've got like rifles, and they're just so awful. They're just the worst. Like they're going on about like I don't even know what they're talking about. Like it's a little crude too. Like they're talking about how like the one guy went to go help find a cure for like AIDS and like I think he got some girl pregnant and like he's like well I hope she's pro-choice and like it's very like on the nose and kind of just cringeworthy and I don't know and then with that like they pretty much they're just obviously not on point. They're not watching out. They're not seeing what's going on. They talk about how they hired a military consultant who was like, he worked on the Bruce Willis movie, Tears of the Sun. I thought that was kind of funny. He's like, why was the sun crying? Like, why would you call that movie that? And then like out of nowhere, like the pig falls into the trench, and they go nuts and they start shooting at it. It kind of reminded me of the movie Snatch when they're all shooting at the dog. And the pig is bacon, and she comes in the back. She comes in the back, and she just like she pretty much takes them all out, more or less. And they kind of make like a joke about that too, because like when they were talking in the trench, the one girl was kind of like, "Guys, really?" Because she's a woman and like she doesn't like the pronoun guys. It should be them. I don't know. She's annoying.
I don't know if she's annoying.
Well, I think it's like they're showing the stupidity of like if you go too far on the being like a snowflake and being hypersensitive to everything. It's like, all right, slow your roll. So she basically goes in blasting. She takes out pretty much most of them. And then basically we find out that Dawn was the one who threw the pig in for a distraction. And I think the only one who's left alive is the one girl who was mad that she was called Guys. Blows her away because they make the joke of like, Miss, do you take offense to being called like being shown mercy because you're a woman? Should we give you more mercy? And she's like, no. Oh, okay. Bang, kills her, and then the radio goes off, and it's Elizabeth. No, I'm sorry. Hilary Swank. Schwank, because she's schwanky. Who plays Athena. And she's basically just like, we got her done, you don't have to keep the act going. And so they draw guns on each other. And it's so annoying, because all the guy had to do was put his gun down and just be chill. But I guess he's been like, so like, like shocked the whole movie. How do you kind of chill out?
You could even take it a step further of conservatives don't want to give up their guns.
Smart one.
Insight.
So they don't put their guns down. Hilary Swank basically just played them, and he goes to draw on her, which was dumb, and she takes him out. From there, she's basically just like, well, I guess it's just you and me. Come and find me, bitch. So she walks over to where Mr. Tears of the Sun is. And he's kind of like bleeding out and whatnot, and she's like, "Why did you? You're a consultant, I heard. Like, why are you doing this for them?" Like, he's like, "Well, I owed her a favor and whatnot." And it's like, "All right, well, where is she?" And he's like, "Well, 2 clicks north and west." And she sticks like her finger like in the bullet hole, so like he gives it up. And the only takeaway from that scene was like, "You're not gonna beat her because she's been trained for 8 months." And you're like, "All right," and she's like, "We'll see." And this kind of wraps up, I want to say, Act 2. Now we kind of go into Act 3, the grand finale. We do a flashback 1 year earlier. And now we're basically picking up where we kind of started in the movie with that text message. Because Hilary Swank gets brought into like a conference room where like her 2 friends are, her 2 coworkers are. And basically says like, listen, do you remember that text message? Well, because of it, you and the other 6 or 8 or 7, there's 7 more people, you and the other 7 have to either step down or be demoted because of what's going on, because people think this is real. And she's like, it was a joke. Like, what are you talking about? And this is where it gets a little wonky, because now we have to believe that Hilary Swank took the rumor that she was hunting people for sport and decided to run with that idea as a way of like getting back at them, which I think this is why people kind of shun the ending. Like, I know people who don't like this movie because they say the ending's kind of like, what the fuck? And I get that. You're like, really? Why would you do that? Like, I think most people in her position would just like hire a hitman and call it a day. But again, this is a stupid satire movie. It's fun. It's a fun action comedy. I wouldn't even call it really a horror movie. It feels like more like an action movie where like an action comedy where people blow up and get killed, and I wouldn't say it's any more or less gory per se. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel any horror tension in the movie at all. There was no suspense,
maybe
really.
At the beginning.
Maybe at the beginning, maybe a little bit, but like as it went along, it became way more actiony, like one that's like Fast 9 movies or something like that. I don't know. So then we go from like from that scene, we flash ahead a little bit, and now it's 8 months before present day, and we have Hilary Swank and all of the hunters, the people that got demoted, laid off, whatever, and they're in Croatia, and they're talking about how we're gonna hunt 12 people down because this will like shut them up. We have to shut the people up, blah blah blah, and they're picking out who they want. They have like a little slideshow going, which okay. And then you got Dennis. Dennis is such a dick. Like I can't stand. He plays it so well because I know you don't really watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia a lot, but he's always been like an asshole in that character, so he really plays into that. And Hilary Swank basically is just like, well, we have to pick Crystal because. You ready? Oh my god, babe. So where was I? Right, so they're back and they're talking about they're picking out the people they want to kill. They can only kill 12 at a time because the consultant's like, well, it's the first time doing it. So they can only do 12. It's like, all right, which tells me that they're planning on doing this annually? Sure, I guess. So they pick out the 12 and they say that, what do you call it? what's her name, Crystal, is their Snowball, which is a throwback to Animal Farm, and that's the thing that you looked into, right?
Right.
So what do you know about Animal Farm?
I did not read the book. I read the Spark Notes. I tried to start reading / listening to the book. And then I just either watched videos or read articles that kind of give you an idea. If you've never read Animal Farm, I'm going to try and go through a synopsis. If you have read Animal Farm, please don't yell at me. But essentially, animals on a farm, which just sounds redundant, decide that men, not men as opposed to not women, but like people, are basically oppressing them and keeping them, like just using them, and that they should be able to live their own lives and be free and be equal. So they pretty much overthrow their farmer, and they're supposed to be the one character who is Snowball kind of leads them into doing this and overthrowing the farmer and just kind of be able to be their own little society, and they lay out all these rules.
Keep going.
So, the main characters are pigs, and the one whose name is Snowball kind of helps them defeat the farmer and just be able to like live their own society, so that they create like these rules that basically help them govern their own little animalism world. Animalism is the word that they use in the part of the book that I read. And then there's another pig named Napoleon who just decides that he doesn't like what Snowball's doing, and he outcasts him and expels him from the farm, and Snowball leaves. And he kind of takes over, and he kind of like crosses out the rules and is like, we're all equal, but some of us are more equal than others. So take that as you will. And the other stuff that I found said that it was related to the Russian Revolution at the time, and had to do with Stalin and another guy who was kind of, I guess, I don't know, with him, competing against him, who I guess tried to set them on like a more equal level, and Stalin was like, screw that, I'm gonna set my own little levels. And in the book, Napoleon basically says anybody who decides that Snowball's ideas are right and mine are wrong gets to die,
which is kind of like the whole like idea of like these characters are so much like that. Nobody, with the exception of Crystal, is in the middle. Everybody else is like all the way to their side, and they got blinders on. So I guess it's kind of like the mirror image to that, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Like I said, I only kind of read synopsis and stuff like that, and I mean, I know that's kind of what ends up happening. I don't remember exactly if any of the other characters die. I really don't remember what the rest of the book is about. But they just kind of focus on the one character, Snowball, who I don't feel like they really are exactly or most accurately referring to, but they do reference the book, I guess, a couple of times throughout the movie.
Well, I mean, I think when we talked about it, when you first told me like you're reading all this research, is that Hilary Swank really didn't get the point of the book, or maybe she didn't interpret it correctly, which, again, is another thing that politicians sometimes do, or people that are political sometimes do. They kind of pick and choose the things that work for them, and then they kind of just shoo away the rest, and they kind of miss the whole point. But I guess it's fair to say, like, because they even call her out, she doesn't really have a good idea of it.
No.
Right?
I mean, she kind of, when they're picking out their victims, she's like, she's gonna be our Snowball. So
right.
Like, she has some, and you're not really sure what that means, because they haven't directly related it to the book. So unless you're like a big fan of the book, and maybe you just know anytime somebody says Snowball in that context that they mean that character, but we're not necessarily given that specific detail at that point.
Gotcha. Cool.
Cool.
So we come back to the present day, and she's outside the gate, and she's basically just like, all right, I got mimes right below you. Mines, not mimes. It'd be really funny if she had mimes. She's like, oh, like
less
pull it
explosive, but still slightly scary.
Right? But she's like, I can blow you up right now, no guns, put it in the mailbox, and then come in. Which, I mean, and it's a movie. Again, it's a movie, but like, why don't you just blow it the fuck up? Like, she's taking out everybody. Why? I mean, I don't really care about sportsmanship at that point. I just blow her the fuck up and call it a day. Go home. That's just me. I don't know. I wouldn't be here to begin with, but I'm like, if there was like a Terminator coming my way, I'd be like, but I guess she's like, I've been training for Cobb McGraw for 8 months, and I'm gonna get that in, and I'm gonna go toe to toe.
I guess you could go with the idea that she is in this sense the Jackrabbit because she is super cocky and is like
overcompensating.
I killed all your friends, I'll kill you too. Come on, man. Like you said, I've been training for this for 8 months.
Right. So, now we're getting, like, basically to, like, the final scene. It's, like, what I call the grilled cheese and Beethoven scene. And she gets in there, and she's just, like, they have, like, a face-to-face, and, she's making a grilled cheese, and she's like, well, I don't use cheddar, because I think it's not as melty, and she's playing, like, Beethoven on her little fucking Alexa, what have you, and, I guess she tries to do this whole thing where she's like, I know you, do you know who I am? And she's like, lady, I don't have a fucking clue who you are. And she's like, I know who you are. And she goes on this whole thing about, like, your parents were, like, drug addicts and they died. And then, you were in and out of jobs and all this bullshit. And she's like the cat that ate the canary. She's very pleased with herself, very smug. And Crystal's kind of like, so wait, you're hunting all of us because you heard a rumor that people said that you were hunting people, so now, but you are hunting people. And she's like, well, no, it was a joke, but you do have a manner and you are hunting people. Well, I am now. And like, I think this is like where the audience kind of goes,
score.
And Hilary Swank does this whole thing of like, well, your backward views and like, you've made it true and it wasn't true, but now it is true and it's your fault. And I can see half the audience, like, this is why the tomato score went down. It's like, really? Like, so you're doing the thing that you were accused of because you were accused. Okay, fine. And I get it. And thankfully at this point, the hero of the movie is like, all right, are we going to get this on or am I going to listen to Beethoven all day? So, like, they fight. It's pretty cool. They talk about how, what was it, Damon Lindelof, who wrote it with Nick Cuse. They did, like, The Watchmen, the HBO show, and Damon Lindelof's done, like, a lot of shit. He's done, like, Lost, he's done Star Trek Into Darkness. He's alright. Well, he's not great. I mean, I'll be honest, like, he has a good, hey guys, we have an interesting idea. Do I know how to end the story? Not always. Usually not. I feel like a lot of his stuff is very divisive too. Like, people are either gonna like it or they're not. Even I'm kind of like, I can't say I'm pro or con the guy. I'm like, he's okay-ish. I don't know. Watchmen had its good points, but I could see why it was a little too much. Like, people complain that it's a little bit too woke. And I kind of get that. There were a couple moments in that show when I was like, all right, it's a little too much. Like, in that, like, just mellow the fuck out. Because it does pull you out. Whenever a show goes too woke, it does kind of break the wall and it kind of makes you forget that you're watching a narrative and it doesn't feel realistic to life. And so I think people should try to be self-conscious about how they present things and do stuff, but not to the umph degree to the point that you're like, okay, this is obnoxious, this is too much, and you're making me a little gaggy with like you're patting yourself on the back and all this. So basically they fight it out. It's pretty bloody. It's pretty cool. She grabs a gun at some point because I guess like she's like, fuck it, I'm cheating. But it's pretty bloody. It's like stab for stab, punch for punch, kick for kick. And I think like they have like a little, because it's in a kitchen, Hilary Swank has like a little food processor blade that ends up being impaled into both of them. Because like eventually they hug and shit and like it goes into both of them. And they're lying there and they're both like about to die kind of. And there's like two questions that like, that are asked, one on each side of the table. And, I think, so she says, why am I the snowball? Which I guess is kind of like, I kind of jumped the gun on getting into this, but like, she's like, why am I the snowball? Snowball was an idealist and I think you're the snowball and all that stuff. Which is probably where I should have cued you, not earlier, but you get my point.
It's cool.
And so yeah, so like again, like I don't think Hilary Swank really knew. She seemed a little crazy and didn't really have a good idea on shit. And then she said, like, to her, she's like, well, you are the right crystal, right? Because that was the thing that came up when they were making the grilled cheese of like, you are the right girl, right? And she's like, no, I'm not. Because earlier she said, I got a girl in my area with the same name. She spells with an E. I get her mail. I'm not her. And this is my whole point of like, if you're going to go with like the metaphors and all that stuff, I get the idea that what they're trying to say, if there is a message, not that anybody should like go deep into this movie too much, but if there is a message, it's that you have opposite ends of the spectrum for the political views, and then you have Crystal, who's basically like a lot of people who's in the middle. They're not an extremist either way, and she's able to rise to the top and kind of beat out everybody because in my idea, like, she's like the fox. If you got like the turtle and the rabbit, she's the fox, and that's why she's kind of like the outlier who can kind of go toe to toe with the rabbit and all that kind of stuff. And I guess that's like the message of the movie is to not be extreme one side or the other, which I imagine people who are all the way to one side or the other are going to hate this movie. Like, you could be a hardcore on one way or the other, and you're going to be like, so you're trying to tell me that I shouldn't be, the way I am? I should be loosey-goosey in the middle? So essentially, I could see why basically those people that are very, tied to their beliefs with blinders on would be like, I don't like this movie. That predicating that they actually saw the movie. I don't think a lot of them did. But I could see people that are, like, I'm not overly political, and that's why I kind of dig the movie. But I could see someone who's political on one side or the other being like, I don't like it. And they can't take a joke. That's another thing. If you have no sense of humor, then you're not going to like this movie. So that's kind of it. So she dies, Hilary Swank. And Crystal gets up. She gets like the little blowtorch that's on the kitchen table that I don't even know what. I guess she was making the grilled cheese with it or something like that. I don't even know. She had the frying pan. I'm like, what are you making? Like Bombay? Like what's that dessert that you light on fire with like the flambe or something like that? I don't know. Like rum. Oh my god, I can't remember right now. It's like rum and whipped cream and they light it on fire, and I can't remember. It's like super fancy and it tastes awful. But
It tastes awful.
I had it when I was a kid, and it's like, I think it's like kind of fancy. I can't remember. Like rum chata? No, that's a drink. I don't know. But she has like a little torchy thing that I guess you use for cooking in the kitchen. And she uses that to like basically cauterize like the stabby that she has in her gutty.
Those are medical terms.
And stabby. And the next scene, she goes upstairs and she puts on those big murderous heels that still have the blood on them, and a nice dress. And she's got the bottle of champagne from 1907, a gun, the dog, an evening dress, and her designer glasses. She walks through the backyard, and right past the backyard, there's like a plane just chilling. I didn't catch it the first time around how close it was. And she gets on the plane, and there's two people there, like the pilot and a flight attendant. And she's just like, so listen, those assholes that, hired you guys to do all this, well, I killed them, and now I want to go home. You got a problem with that? And he's like, no, ma'am. Pilot gets on there, and the flight attendant's like, do you want me to serve you that champagne? And we have snacks. Do you want, And it kind of like in the beginning of the movie, the same lady was like trying to talk this way to the rich people, and the guy was like a total dick, total fucking dick. So this poor flight attendant is kind of like on pins and needles, and Crystal's just like, do you ever try this caviar? He's like, well, now's your day, girl. Pull up a chair. And like they pull up a chair, and like she's like, how is it? And she's like, it's fucking great. And it just says, The Hunt! And that's it. Like, I guess, like, she became BFFs with the flight attendant for an hour or two. Went home. Credits. I can see them making a sequel. I mean, when they make movies again. Right now, it's gonna be like, I don't know. And that's, like, the whole... That's The Hunt. What did you have, like... I don't know, like, what was, like, your first reactions? I thought it was much better than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be like, oh my god, it's a Blumhouse film. It has a lot of open area to be like a fantasy island type of movie. Not that I saw that one, but I know how bad Blumhouse can be. But I was shocked. I thought the actress who played Crystal was very good.
Yeah.
I even gotta give Hilary Swank some credit because she brought it. I mean, she's kind of like a Bond villain. She's kind of like a 2-dimensional cartoon villain,
Right.
and that's fine. But like, I mean, I'm watching those scenes again, and I'm like, she's really doing those like kicks and jumps and stuff like that. Because if you pause it, like it is her face. You can't mistake Hilary Swank's face. Like it's very like angular and what have you.
But is she hot?
But is she hot?
That's an office joke.
I remember watching the trailer for this going like the same question for Emma Roberts. I'm like, is she hot? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Maybe she'll be more hot after this beer, but like I don't think Emma. But I'm just saying like she's like fairly mediocre. Where I'm like, she's okay. Well, I feel like Julia Roberts is in the same boat where I'm like, I don't know. Not that I'm like overly shallow, but I'm like, or even like Elizabeth Moss. You're kind of like, but I like The Hunt quite a lot. I'm glad we watched it. I had a fun time with that. Crazy time we're living in. It was a nice little comedy to kind of distract yourself. Because it is a comedy. It's not a drama or a horror movie or anything like that. It is a straight up comedy with a bit of action. It's bloody good fun. I like it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Ooh.
What would you give it?
I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8? I feel like a 7 is like
We didn't
cool,
do this.
but an 8 is like
we
good.
didn't talk about this.
Yeah, I'm yeah, I'm going to give it a 7. I like it a lot.
I like that.
I'd watch it again. I think it's a good background movie. Just kind of like put on the background. Got some funny ass scenes in it. I love how bizarre Crystal's character is.
Yeah.
Because she is like this like military. What was she? She was army? No.
I don't know. It just says she served in Afghanistan.
Right. I know she's not National Guard because I love that joke where he's like, "Oh, so you were never in the shit." And he's like,
He was National Guard, the guy from
right,
Cheers in the
that's
Sun.
what I'm saying. And he's like, well, I feel like I kind of am now. And he's like, oh, that's a really good way of looking at it. And she blows him away.
Really funny. She had some good one-liners, let me tell you.
I mean, the best line is like, you fucked up, bitch. And she's like, that's
great.
like, I love her eyes bugging out. And that's the same scene too when she's talking to the Tears of the Sun guy. She's like, because he's like, you can't go in there. She's training. Like, you don't want to go in there. And she's like, yeah, I know, but before I was out there, and I was kind of like, And then back at home, I work at a car rental place, but right now I'm like, So where is she? And it's just like, oh my god, you're fucking nuts.
It's great.
So I would love to see like her go on in like some form of a sequel or something like that. I'd be shocked if they did, but I would watch more if they did like a continuation, like next year at the Manor, like they did like a sequel, like in some capacity or
But
some
who's
way.
gonna be at the Manor?
It doesn't matter. There's no logic. Who cares? If they can make 4 of those fucking Hunger Game movies, they can figure it out.
Well, there are 3 books to go
Nah.
off of. I mean, if you did something similar, but I don't know, maybe.
I'm just saying, like, when you have movies like Paranormal Activity 5, like, we're so very far away from having the original cast, original story, anything. It's just like, here's the idea, new players, don't worry about it. And they can easily do that with The Hunt, depending on how much money it makes. I don't know, I kind of wonder if, given the circumstances right now, if the movie will make more money because people are at their homes and they're like, I only have 4 options to watch a new movie and I'm going to pick The Hunt. I wonder if it's creating a situation where more people are actually seeing it than they would have otherwise if we weren't in the situation that it is now.
I don't know. Yeah, look up them stats.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you have like a favorite part in the movie, or did you have a part that you...
I mean, I thought the fight scene between her and Hilary Swank was pretty cool. I'm trying to remember.
I do
specific
love that one scene where it's like a weird flip that she does. Like, it's right towards the end when they hug each other and the blade goes in, but she does like this cool grapple move and like the camera goes up and over and they both land on the floor. I'm like, Every time I watch it, I'm like, that's fucking rad. That's like very John Wick like, and I like it a lot.
I don't know. I mean, I know that the box turtle in the Jackrabbit story was very like Grimm's fairy tale. Like, and I was like, oh, but she told it really well. So I know it's funny. Don's like, huh?
He's very giddy.
Like,
He's
what's
like,
gonna happen?
the turtle's gonna win. Like, he's very giddy about it.
He was like,
because in reality, he's the fucking turtle who never went anywhere in life. Like, turtle's gonna win. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
but yeah. But then, like, I guess he thought she was gonna end with, never stop trying, kids. And, like, that's, like, the PBS special, and that's where everybody turns off their TV.
Right.
And then you get the sick bastards who go. And then the Jackrabbit kicks in the door.
Well, I think a lot of
and makes turtle soup.
A lot of Grimm fairy tales are that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't, like, Pinocchio and Snow White and all those, like...
Yeah, like, Ariel becomes, like, a sea creature or something. Like, it's not all happy and giddy, but yeah, that's what I was picturing. Like, I was like, this is really Grimm's fairy tale shit. Is this how it really went in the Grimm's fairy tale? Like, hold on, I'm gonna look this up. But yeah.
The 23 people get killed in this movie because it was like, I was reading the trivia.
Oh.
Like, how many? Like, what was the body count? And the body count is like 23. Oh no, I'm sorry, 22. If you count the pig, it's 23. Sure, I mean, sure.
It wasn't the pig's fault, man. Just because somebody has like a weird hard-on for animal.
Did you have like a favorite kill?
Ooh.
Like a special effect or something like that of...
I don't know. The refugee guy with the grenade in his pants. I'm sorry.
I like that one, Carla. That guy was a jerk.
He stuffed it in his pants. Oh, that was kind of funny. I'm sorry.
That was, I mean, I can't really top that one. That is pretty good.
Yeah.
I loved Randy seeing him like unleashed and just go for it and yeah. That was his moment.
That was
his
fine.
moment to shine.
Good stuff. Good stuff happened. Well, not for him.
No. Fuck that guy though.
Yeah.
Like what was he trying to sell him on? He's like, I'll give you a head start. Like, fuck you. I can talk to the government and be done with this. I mean,
right?
in a different movie, that should have been the end of the movie when they talked to the government. Like, I don't know why they left with the U.S. Embassy guy and all that shit, and I don't know. Because, like, apparently they were, like, real military, right?
That's what he
They
says.
said, like, they weren't supposed to get on the train and all that shit.
Well, he could have been lying.
You think?
I'm just
No,
saying.
you know why? Because he had bribe money in the trunk.
Oh.
So that tells me that, like, maybe they were going to bribe the government if they couldn't get him otherwise or some shit like that. I'm just guessing.
That makes sense.
But I thoroughly enjoyed The Hunt. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I liked it. I am not entirely sure how to make the full Animal Farm connection. So if you read Animal Farm, you're an English major, you want to, like, inform us, throw it in the words, because I'm kind of curious. I don't fully get the connection, but yeah.
I imagine people that like love the original Animal Farm probably watch this and go, fuck this movie. Like, I just imagine like a lot of people look at this movie and go,
just enlighten us.
Right.
I can only do so much research in an hour or two.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's kind of like in the same boat of like Ready or Not. I mean, even the main characters are kind of similar in a lot of ways. There's a good crossover movie you should have. You should have like them like together, just smoking a cigarette, holding sawed-off shotguns, being like, I don't know, we're going on an adventure to kill bad people, to kill rich people, I guess, evil rich people who tried to murder us. I don't know.
Obviously.
Score. There are a lot of movies like that. Like, even Knives Out, I feel like, is on the same boat of, like, we have super elite rich people doing murder. But, yeah, I'm going to stick with my 7 out of 10. Guys, we are doing another Blu-ray hunt tomorrow. or depending on when you see it, maybe today. We're doing it on Tuesday. It's coming very soon. We're still doing the giveaway for the PS4 as soon as we get 4,000 subs. And check out the video for the 1917 Blu-ray hunt video, because in that one, we're going to pick the winner for the Jumanji digital copy. And then we're also going to open the floor to giving away the 1917 copy.
We're not opening the door.
Digital copy. Opening the door.
You made
open
me
the
do
floor.
that.
I'm losing my words. You know, when you spend enough time inside, you're kind of just like,
Da, 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 da.
You know, you get a little, Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, comment down below. Thanks, and all that stuff. Until next time, guys. This has been Cassie. I've been John. You've been burned. We will see you next time.